Well, the so-called urinator incident, where Stellenbosch University student Theuns was filmed urinating on the belongings of fellow student Babalo Ndwayana, has once more raised the question of just how much progress we have made towards racial reconciliation and social harmony. The term Rainbow Nation was coined by the late Archbishop Desmond Tutu, and it encapsulated the hope and excitement of a new era for post-apartheid South Africa under the leadership of late President Nelson Mandela. So where are we today? Let's speak now to Sello Hatang of the Nelson Mandela Foundation. Sello, thank you so much for joining us. When we hear about these awful incidents, such as what happened at Stellenbosch University recently, do you see that as isolated or a clear indication that there's a lot more racism still in society than we want to acknowledge?
I think, thank you very much, Sally, and good evening. I think it's important that we note that these incidents prove once again that racism is systemic. And for us to be able to address it, we shouldn't just be applying what the head of the UN High Commission says, Commissioner for Human Rights says, piecemeal approach to try deal with a systemic problem. So each one of us has to then do something, or each government has to do something to deal with it, uproot it from where it is, from families to how we congregate in churches, around braais, that we have braais, and all those are spaces where racism thrives. And until such time that we stop denying that racism is real, racism is alive, we will always have these moments where we treat it like an event. This is the thing that horrifies us, and we come out in horror, but we forget the moment that the victims have either just given up on justice or that they just decide this is not worth it anymore.
Talk to me about the concept of the Rainbow Nation. We know that it was Desmond Tutu who coined the term, but it's very much associated with Nelson Mandela. And the phrase has come in for a lot of criticism because many people see it as a sort of idealistic dream papering over the ugly reality of what racism has done to our country. What actually is the concept of the Rainbow Nation? Are we misunderstanding it, or is it an outdated idealistic concept?
I think it's not outdated. It's a concept that found its home in a country that was trying to reimagine itself with all the ugliness that we've had, that at least just paper over it, that we then do the hard work that needs to be done of reconciling us as a nation. I think we fell short with some of the things that needed to be done. Something that Ntate Teribel and Ntate Dumisantsebeza say that the unfinished business will always haunt us. For as long as we don't deal with that unfinished business of reparations, of ensuring that whiteness also acknowledges that white supremacy is no longer the thing that was never the thing that needed to be bowed down to, but also that black people need not also just cow down to feeling inferior. And I think all that was part of us reimagining ourselves as a nation that was rising from the ashes of apartheid and trying to say, how do we become better? And the Rainbow Nation then is about our differences. How do we merge after these differences and reimagine a new nation?
The rainbow, the colours of the rainbow are all equally beautiful, and you speak about the concept united in our diversity, which interestingly our previous guest from the DA was using to justify why the Tar Monument shouldn't have its Afrikaans culture stripped away from it. I think the problem comes in, though, is the equal status of culture. We've come from a system where one culture, one colour was elevated over others. How do we make sure we have an equal status for all our cultures without the dominant culture feeling hard done by?
You know, one of the saddest things about South Africa today is how we have not been able to at least begin to reckon fully with how one culture is domineering because it's given space to do so. It starts with how the economies run, to how you still feel that people have not been able to reckon with the horrors of apartheid and its impact on the people that were victims thereof, and who refused to be victims thereof. If you look at the flag, the apartheid flag, for example, how do you, in this day and age, 2022, still have people who think it will be right to just brandish a symbol that was so bad for our country, a symbol that was about uniting white people exclusively, a symbol that was about reconciling white people, excluding to the exclusion of the majority of our people. And you still have people who say, no, that's freedom of expression, that it should be allowed. It tells you that we have not been able to reckon with that past, to understand what our fellow citizens went through and how the pain will always be there. Sally, truth is, we are a wounded people, and those wounds show themselves every now and then. If we allow them, they fester. And that festering then leads to the delegitimization of the state, where you then have campaigns that would then legitimize stuff that we shouldn't be legitimizing, and where we normalize stuff that's abnormal. The poverty of black people is also part of that normalizing the abnormal. We must begin to reimagine ourselves as a nation that says that's not right in any country. We should be turning our backs on those that are trying to divide us further, and work hard to then say, how do we reunite without the World Cup, Rugby World Cup, without the Soccer World Cup, for example?
Absolutely. Sello, I'm so sorry, we've just lost your audio, but you made such incredibly powerful points about us being a wounded nation. Thank you very much, Sello Hatang of the Nelson Mandela Foundation.